So this is going to be essentially a catch-up video to this video, these two videos rather, that I made in the past, which were talking about cars that people were hyped about, cars that we look forward to in the future, and we're going to look at where they are now and what people think of them now. So the first one we're going to start off with is the first one I always start off with when I make videos like this, which is the new Nissan Z. So the new Fairlady, I still think it's a great car, and a lot of people still thought it was a great car up until recently because of the new Corolla. And don't get me wrong, I like the new Corolla, but again, toxic fanboys are toxic, and they're always in comment sections like, this is gonna destroy the Nissan Z for a fraction of the value, and I also have to hear my moronic IRL friends also argue about stuff like this, so if I have to hear it in real life, y'all are gonna hear it online too. And I also hear dumb things from my real life friends even who are like comparing Mustangs to the Z. They're just like, Mustangs for the same price that the Z is going for is gonna destroy it. And I'm just gonna say this right now, alright? This is how I'm gonna defend the Z. It's still a great car. I don't need to relist its specs. I'm not gonna do that. I think its specs speak for itself. I also think its price is fine. Some people were turned off by it, but it does start off cheaper than the Supra, and compared to how the older Fairladies were priced, it's not a surprise that it's priced the way it's priced, and it doesn't bug me, okay? What I want to really get the point across is that the Z and the buyers of things like muscle cars or pony cars or hot hatches like Corollas and so on and so forth are not the same buyers who buy a Z. So yes, in a straight line out the box, you can get a naturally aspirated V8, blah blah blah. You can also go the other side of the spectrum of, oh well, you could even get a cheaper car that also has very similar performance numbers and blah blah blah, you know, like the Corolla. But when you look at the Z and you look at those other two cars that people are constantly comparing it to, they're not the same buyers. People buy a Z because they want a two-door Japanese tuner car. More specifically, this is the one thing the Fairlady has been king at, and I have tons of footage to prove this, and not only that, people have tons of seat time to prove this. It is one of the best out-of-the-box drift platforms, period. You can get a Mustang to drift, but it's going to take a lot of work. You could probably get a Corolla to drift, but it's going to take even more work considering its drivetrain and its lack of longer wheelbase, so it's a bit harder to get it to get swing balance through the corners. Yes, someone still can do it. In fact, Toyota already has done it for Formula Drift at Atlanta, which I actually saw, but for the average person who wants a car out of the box that's already a great drift car and doesn't need many improvements to become an even better one, the Z is that type of audience. If someone wants to build a drag car, yeah, they're gonna buy the Mustang or they're gonna buy a Camaro and they're gonna boost it to the moon, you know? If someone wants a nice little hot hatch that can get some good autocross hours in and lots of seat time, that's what the Corolla's for. If you want more doors, that's what the Corolla's for. But if you like the two-door, low-slung, sleek styling, that's what the Fairlady is for. I don't think its price is going to make it negatively affected by Corolla sales because it's just a different audience that buys it. So I'm sick of hearing my friends be bitter about this in person, and I'm sick of hearing people online be bitter about this because it's just proof that all hype culture does for cars is people just latch on to the next car. Another positive thing that happened, so we're going to keep catching up with cars that we talk about. This is a car that I'm usually pretty negative about, but I'm going to stop beating around the bush and just name drop it. The Supra. The newer Mark V Supra has been getting a lot of hate, but Toyota, in my opinion, has done one thing correctly. They announced that they're going to add a manual transmission for it. Now, the reaction for this was very mixed. A lot of people said too little, too late. That's an understatement. A few people said too little, too late, Toyota. You should have given us this from the start. The main thing I'm upset about is people actually backtracking against it's, you know, when the Supra first came out for the Mark V, or rather when it was first announced, so before it came out, everyone's like, oh, it doesn't look like the FT1, it doesn't have the same dimensions as the old Supra, oh, it uses a BMW platform, blah blah blah, and oh, it only comes in automatic, but the Z doesn't, which is why the Z will be the better car. Now people are just becoming big hypocrites and just flipping on their heads and going like, why did you even bother making a manual, Toyota? You could have spent this money and time and R&D to engineer something better for the car instead of making this useless option no one's going to pick because the automatic is faster and that's the one everyone buys anyway, so this was a pointless release. MFs. Absolute MFs. Like, did y'all really just do this? And this wasn't a 1 or 2 person like coincidence. This was so bad that Toyota had to disable their comments on a lot of their posts on Facebook and Twitter and really a lot of other places on the internet because that's how poorly received them listening to their fans were. They're finally trying to listen to customers. And rather they have, and now they're releasing something based on customer feedback. And now people are reacting negatively to it. What's that gonna tell the company? Well, it's just gonna tell them, okay, well, we tried to do what they wanted and they didn't like it, so we're not gonna listen to them anymore. What's that gonna say about about what's going to happen to the Mark 6 Supra. We have to have good faith in them for finally attempting to give us good faith, even if it is too little too late, because it shows that they at least tried to listen to us. Yes, they listened to us a bit late, but if we don't accept it, what's going to happen is they're really not going to listen to us the next time. Staying on the topic of Toyota, we're going to move on to the GR86. So the only positive Toyota, again, because it's shiny and new, is the Corolla. The GR Corolla has received overwhelmingly positive press about it because admittedly it's a good car. The GR86 though has been getting weird press. I wouldn't say negative. I guess it is negative, but it's air quotes around it because it's what I call a self-inflicted problem. So whenever people say, boo-hoo, the GR86 is becoming regular traffic now. Oh, it's not fast. Oh, it's not worth the money I paid for it. That's because you couldn't wait 3 months and paid stupid dealer markup for double the price. Of course, the production of the GR86 was going to catch up to demand. And of course that results in it being a regular ass traffic car. But that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. That means Subaru and Toyota are catching up the production cycle with the amount of demand, and more people can have this car. And if more people can have it, it will stay the listed MSRP. And that's a good thing, not just for their business, it's a good thing for us consumers. I don't know how people didn't see this coming. Let's look at the previous platform, the GT86, the Ito6, the FRS, the BRZ. Let's just look at how many of those exist, right? That is a really popular car. I see them everywhere. It's literally regular traffic. And again, I don't mean that as an insult. It's a beginner level sports car for a reason. Why did people think this was going to be magically more rare than that? Of course it was going to become just as common as them. The reason that upsets them is they paid almost double the car's MSRP, anywhere from 3 months to half a year ago. When you pay like north of 45 grand on a car, which is MSRP is like basically almost half that, of course you're going to be salty and disappointed with the product. Because when you paid that price, at first you were satisfied, because we're always satisfied with before buyer's remorse hits in, we're all happy about things we buy. But when you realize you're no longer a special little snowflake and everyone else is starting to get GR86s and they're getting them for 30 grand or something, then you start to realize, wow, I really overpaid for a car that underperforms. It still doesn't have a turbo. It's really slow. This is a stupid car, blah, blah, blah. No, it's not a stupid car. You were a stupid person for paying way too much for it. So the GR86, it's a fine car. It's a great car. But my point of this entry is to prove something that I have been warning about, and a lot of YouTubers warn about too. Don't get caught up in dealer markup hype. Don't be that moron who buys the car the month it comes out. Don't even be the guy who buys it 3 months after it comes out. Just wait half a year, all right? And you can buy the car for its proper listed price. And when you do that, you're actually happier because your expectations are met. Of course, when you overpay for anything in life, you also become overly critical of it, and you especially become very sad when you see tons of other people get the same thing for much cheaper only a few months later, and you start to feel less special about it. Talking about the MC20 and catching up with it from the previous videos I talked about it, a lot of my excitement still remains. So I still think it's a great car, but again, like I said at the beginning of the video, we're not going to re-go over specs, data, and statistics. You can watch the first video for that. We're going to always move on to complaints, because the point of this video is talking about how hype culture ruins cars. The MC20, the main complaint people talk about is that, oh, it still shares parts of Fiat Chrysler cars. And I'm not gonna lie, I kind of wished it didn't, but I don't blame Maserati for using the few Fiat Chrysler parts they did use. For example, the infotainment system is still a Fiat Chrysler shared part. The side mirrors are still Fiat Chrysler shared parts, and some of the other interior bits like turn signal stalks, buttons and dials, and a few other just very minor things are also still Fiat Chrysler components. But for the most part, the engine is built in-house, tuned in-house, made in-house. That's now a proper Maserati engine. It still has a fantastic drivetrain. The car sounds great. It looks great. I mean, this is a car that's very simplistic and very beautiful. The car is super sporty from the bottom half. It's got that sick diffuser, beautiful splitter front end, big old vents. It's a very aggressively styled car, but on the top half, the car is more gentle. It's simple, it has easier to follow curves, and it doesn't look over-designed like a lot of modern supercars do. It's exactly as I expected, with a very few hiccups in the road, but considering its price, it doesn't disappoint me. So why doesn't it disappoint me? Well, you have to remember that the Ford freaking GT also still uses shared parts, and that car brand new costed just as much, and now that it's used costs way more. So why is it that people give that car a pass and not the MC20? Like, who cares if you share side mirrors and turn signal stalks? Like, come on, let's be real. The majority of the Maserati MC20 is good faith. It's Maserati putting a proper foot forward and saying, hey, we're gonna be cool again because we Fairlady, admittedly, you know, they've been facing a lot of scrutiny in the past decade or so, I want to say 15 or years, because admittedly they deserved it. They made horrible cars, and you know, deserved is a huge air quote, because it's not just Maserati's problem. It was more so that they were being squished by the executives of Fiat Chrysler under their very oppressive feet, because they were basically controlling a lot of the decisions Maserati was forced into making. And that resulted in them becoming kind of a bargain bin throwaway, like discount Ferrari basically. They're just that Italian car manufacturer that just carried a brand and they slapped the logo on. But when you finally lift up that corporate foot and let Maserati have more freedom and have more control of what they do, they proved that they still can make good cars. So similar with the SUPRA situation, now that the manufacturer is giving more freedom to give customers what they want, customers should be proud and excited for it, because that will continue to let them make what they want. And also they'll be able to take those numbers and figures, run up to the executives and say, hey look, people like what we did, you need to give us more freedom from now on. And they won't return to being a crappy company. As people know on this channel, and hopefully as people figured out throughout the years, I'm very frugal and cynical in the sense that I don't part ways with my money very easily. Even if I do like something, it's still not enough for me to part ways with my current vehicle to make space for my new vehicle, because whenever I have to replace vehicles. So we'll end this video on a more personal note. And I guess this personal story does have to relate to this video, because I personally am not really caught on to hype culture, and I think as a car enthusiast it's healthier for people not to. But the current trend, not just, you know, it's easy to blame TikTok and clout culture, because that is absolutely part of it, but we are all still, you know, we have some agency over it. You as people still have self-control and can still develop self-control. So I want to be that voice of reason, so to speak, and not just a voice, because talking only does so much. I'm a physical, actual like display, the embodiment of I just keep the same freaking cars. I mean, to any of you who've been subscribed to me since the start, I truly do appreciate it. I mean, it's been almost a 6-year journey. It has been a 6-year journey. Oh my god. This channel's so old. I'm not much older too, but you know, I appreciate you guys following along, but more so, I have literally kept the same cars since I started this channel. You know, let that sink in. When everyone else is constantly changing cars, I want to be that one guy who's proof that you don't have to get caught up in hype. It's okay if you're looking for a new car, if you don't currently have a car, if you want to finally switch cars because it has been 7 to 10 years, then it's fine. But I think people need to realize hype culture destroys not just the announcement of cars, but it can destroy your wallet and quite literally your livelihood and all of the money and your assets, and make you emotionally stressed if you're just constantly changing cars because you're dumb enough to fall for not just hype culture, but sometimes even dealer markup. Whenever I think of getting newer vehicles, it's not just how much I love the new vehicle, it's how much I have to let go of the love for my current vehicle, because I already have a full garage, right? I don't have any more space to store another car, and I'm not keen on parking something really nice outside. Meaning any newer vehicle I buy has to eclipse my love for my current vehicle. So even though I said all these positive words about the C8 Z06, about electric Corvettes, and about MC20s, when I was literally about to buy the MC20, I was like, okay, which one do I have to let go of? And at the time, the Mustang was not repaired, right? I could have just let go of that car. I could have just let it rot away in the field in India, like I have been doing for about a year and like 3 months, up until the point I repaired it. But I chose not to do that because I was like, you know, I really want this car to run again. I really want to see it next to my Corvette again. And that desire to do that overpowered my desire to just shove an MC20 next to my Corvette. Another thing is, I'm gonna be really honest with you guys, I have decided on buying a new vehicle. It's a Honda. Yeah, get fucked. No supercar. Have fun guessing which Honda it is. Alright, thank you for watching this video. Video this, like, subscribe that, smash, and notification bell that hit. See y'all next time. Blade Angel out.